Welcome everybody to Rad Pod and Chill. I don't know if we're really feeling chill or not, but I don't know. I'm Heidi
I will in a
Kuda.
minute.
I'm Heidi Kuda. I'm here with High Fidelity and Jim Stewartson. Our show is an investigative show about disinformation. We've been very busy. Uh, and but on Thursday nights we try to be cool. We don't always succeed.
I
No,
haven't been cool since we
no.
started.
how,
Yeah,
how are you guys?
I don't think I'm going to succeed in too much chilling tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Ooh,
fine.
Oh,
I'm in
crap.
a really good mood
Good. Yeah, make
because
one of us.
because
Oh,
because
oh,
Larry Householder, the former Speaker of the House of Ohio,
Yeah.
and his little lackey, uh, Borges or whatever the fuck his name is,
Yeah.
they're going to prison.
Yeah. He's not he's gonna be going to the big householder.
Ah,
oh, wah, wah.
but you know what? You know
Already
what's still
made a
fucked up
dad
though.
joke.
You know what's fucked up though.
What?
Aside
What?
from Heidi's joke, no,
I thought it was all right.
it was okay.
This is a good dad joke. Perfect.
Was
Thank
that
you.
the governor of Ohio, Mike DeWine, and his hand-picked head of the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio, a fellow named Frank Randazzo, are both tied to this bribery scandal through political contributions and emails and text messages, and ain't shit been done about them.
Well, we just have to prime our audience, particularly anybody who's new, that we will have many Ohio moments throughout tonight's broadcast and in future episodes because Ohio is the heart of it all, according to High Fidelity. And I'm starting to believe that there is much truth in that, particularly after we had David Pepper on the show multiple times. You Ohioans got to fight, man, for your democracy because looks like there's some corrupt bastards trying to steal it away from you there. So, you
Yes, indeed. But
know,
we got David Pepper. That's good.
yes.
Uh, we got oh dang, I forget his name now. The farmer, white beard, great storyteller. Jen,
Oh, from Melissa Joe Peltier's documentary.
yeah.
Yeah.
We got that guy. We got good people in Ohio, right? We got some stupid people in Ohio. We got lots of those.
Well, yeah, I think that's a,
Um,
yeah,
I
epidemic
I I
everywhere.
switch between the two. I'm kind of good and stupid. So
I can attest to that. uh,
oh, I did come up with a new. I did come up with a new state slogan though. Would you
oh
like to hear
no,
it?
I do. I want to hear it.
West Virginia is for underage lovers.
Um,
Now,
yeah,
if you want to know why I came up with that, it's because the
yeah.
West Virginia legislature, Republican dominated,
Mm.
today uh, ruled that there is no age limit for marriage.
They're probably trying to keep.
Oh,
They're probably
Yeah.
trying to
no
keep,
age
keep some of
limit.
their. They're trying to keep some of their brothers out of prison right now.
No age limit.
Yeah.
I think it's at like no minimum limit.
Yeah. Wow. Well,
Okay. Oh, that's gonna be fun. Oh, little Joey and little Susie, yeah, they might only be 6 months old, but they're made for each other.
mm,
I just want to
Hey,
know.
the
I just want
fuck
to know who
kind
in West
of
Virginia
crazy
looked at Taliban
backwards
child
bullshit is this?
brides. I just want to know who said, "Yeah, the Taliban has child brides. We want child brides." What the what?
well, if somebody's got a freaking son or a cousin or a dad or an uncle who they're trying to keep out of prison, I mean,
Well, also, let me clue you in. They want that shit. They want child brides. They want a lot of them, all
yeah,
for them. They want fucking
yeah,
harems.
yeah,
Like, let's get real. The people at the top of this literally think that whatever they think should happen. That's why they're trying to undo all this like sane shit that our society has
yeah.
looked at for a long time is because they are sick, you know, dark perverted people, and they want to unleash the hounds of
Yeah.
human psychopathy onto the world so that, it can look more like them. That's what this is. They're trying to turn the world into crazy fucking psychopaths so they have company.
Well, that's very true. And speaking of episode 63 with Dr. Ian Garner, the author of Z Generation or Z Generation, the getting into the heart of the Russia's fastest youth is the name of his book. He's like, we always get compliments on the show, people saying that was an amazing episode. They're all great, but like Dr. Garner is particularly brilliant, and he lived in St. Petersburg during a time where things were still open. He said you could go to this one block and there was a nightclub, and the same owner had a gay club next door, and they were identically laid out, and everybody could follow their heart, and everything was cool. This was in St. Petersburg, and he said this was of course, before 2010, where Putin really got a hold and did the huge nationalist push. But it's heartbreaking because I actually had a friend who lived in Saudi Arabia in the 70s, and she said that it was so much more open for a woman, and she's speaking from an American woman point of view, in the 70s. He's telling us that St. Petersburg, less than 20 years ago, had gay clubs and people were cool and could follow their dreams in their heart. Now he tells us that about a quarter, 25% of the gay population in Russia tries to kill themselves because they are so, beat up over having to be in denial about who and what they are. And so the regression isn't just outside of our country, it's very much inside of our country. Both Tennessee and Arkansas have laws. I think it's Arkansas or Alabama. I don't have my phone. I'm going to have to go run and grab it in a second so I can check my stats. But they both, a couple of states have these anti-drag bills. And Tennessee, and one of them, of course, has a major politician who's sitting there liking this, transgender on, Instagram. So it's exactly what you're saying, where it's like, it's all. I honestly don't know who they're trying to impress. Other than how they're going to get their funding, because the people don't really want this shit. 70% of the people don't want this shit.
It's not about it's not about politics. It's about radicalization. Most of these guys don't give a shit. They don't care about gay people. They don't care about trans people. They really don't. What they see is a vulnerable population that they can include in their outgroup, that they do not want in their, or do not believe that they're going to get on their side anyway, right? And they're vulnerable, and they have characteristics that are different from other people. That is what all fascist movements do. They find the weakest people. They find the smallest, most sensitive population, and they will go after it. They'll start with women, as they did in America. They took away women's rights. Now anti-Semitism is all in vogue again. Because guess what? I tweeted about this. Just fucking Nazis never went anywhere.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, the reason why it all looks exactly like the fucking Nazis is because like Nazism did not go away.
Right.
Why do all three of the main founders of the PayPal Mafia grow up in apartheid, whose families chose to go to apartheid? Yeah. Peter Thiel's dad moved from Germany to apartheid. So listen, we are genuinely dealing with a resurfacing of the old, same old, right? Yeah. I'll land with this. The most prolific myth in Weimar Germany before it became Nazi Germany was called Deutschland. which is the stab in the back myth.
Yeah.
The stab in the back myth says that Jews, liberals, and communists were to blame for World War I.
Right.
What did they do? What are they doing now? Jews, liberals, and communists are to blame for Donald Trump losing the 2020 election.
Yeah, they're doing the same old joke.
It's not history rhyming. That's just plagiarism. It's the same fucking thing. So we gotta stop stop listening to people. Ooh, everything you say is Hitler. No, not everything we say is Hitler. Just the Hitler shit. If you're doing Hitler shit, we're gonna fucking throw you out for it. You don't get to hide behind your goddamn green frog or whatever the fuck your LARP is. I don't care. If you're doing Nazi shit, you're gonna get called a Nazi. Because guess what? They're coming back. And unless we, all of us, stand the fuck up and call them what they are, they're going to win. They're going to win this time.
Right. We can.
I'm going to say one last thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Fascism does not stop on its own. It must be defeated. Stomp that shit in the fucking dust.
Or in the eye. So yes, Jim, we should get that t-shirt and make it a RadPod shirt. It's got to be defeated. And I know this, but I also feel like so much of what we're seeing is theater craft. And I am comforted by the fact that I think that they are desperate. And I wrote about this. What we are seeing are acts of desperation. CPAC was very low energy and very lightly attended. It's only what you see on TV that makes it look so big. So I think that's a very important thing. Also, I don't see power or strength in McCarthy going to the party's enforcer in chief, Tucker Carlson, with the videos and trying to create a unreality narrative. I see that as desperation. The GOP is engaged in a massive criminal cover-up. And that should be the headline all the time in the media. And it's going to be my headline all the time. Under the tutelage of Jason Stanley and Ruth Ben-Ghiat, I can see it very clearly. Theater craft is everywhere. Distractions everywhere. They're all trying to out-ugly each other. But it's all part of a gigantic criminal cover-up. And of course, I say GOP because they are out front and center of this. But that is not to dismiss the left side of the horseshoe, which I've written voluminously on, as has Jim. This is not to dismiss the tankies. I'm sure you guys have something to say about that. I'm going to grab my phone. So you guys take over.
I want to talk. Go ahead. I want to talk about desperation for a second, because there's some desperate motherfuckers out there right now, like chasing me around in my comments. Desperate, sad little LARPers. Like pathetic little boys trying to pretend they're Jewish super soldiers and shit. Like the most ridiculous stuff from really dangerous people. And guess why? Because you guys are scared. You don't have anything left. And you know that I'm gonna continue to tell the goddamn truth about you. So you chase me around in my comments. You try and get me to reply to you. You got to try to distract me with your little LARPs. You're losers. I'm better at this than you are. Stop. It's not going to work. And last loser, Joe fucking Flynn. I said
this motherfucker
out loud on Twitter, as I have several times, many times maybe, that Mike Flynn allowed Vladimir Putin to take Crimea. Joe Flynn had a fucking cow. He had a cow. He got some shit from Mike Flynn. He had Mike Flynn write something, and then Joe tried to translate it into a tweet and fucked it up. But the last thing he wrote was "arrest Heidi." Heidi, wait, I can't. I don't know how it works. Where is she? Fuck, I can't fucking figure out how to point at Heidi.
Direction. Just point that.
That way. Heidi. Who the fuck?
The nice one.
Who's going to say arrest Heidi, first of all? And then guess what happened 30 minutes later? A bunch of these dumb little fucking groypers went to Heidi's Substack and said death threats. bang, bang, bitch, and dumb fucking like 2010 4chan bullshit. Like, grow up.
It's not past tense, it's still happening. I just tweeted out to the president, Hillary Clinton, and Vice President Kamala Harris and Brianna Wu and Nina Jankowicz, and I just tweeted out to President Jackie Singh, and I said, how many more women have to be harmed by terrorism before we actually do something about it and acknowledge the problem? Like, I can see where this is going. They sent me something today that was very, I could see it as juvenile, but I could see how devious it was and how it's designed to be very traumatic. And the last few have been very traumatic. And so we're just going to do this again. We're just going to do it again. We're just going to let it happen to another person who's trying to defend democracy from the fifth column fascists in America who are trying to kill it. Like, as you can see, I'm a defiant one. I'm going to keep writing. Like, I'm not going to go, oh, they're sending scary shit, I better not try to defend democracy anymore. That's not my get down. But
can we have a moment for the trolls? Just everybody, all three of us. Just
they don't care. Don't feed them. Like, you know what I mean?
I'm not going to perform for them. No. They need to perform for me.
I just want them to know.
Some of these trolls, and I'm not going to name names because fuck them. You guys need to dance a little better. Like, if you're going to try and get my attention, do better. Say something original. Give me some information. Stop just saying the same stuff. I'm just going to block you. And
They do seem to want to tell on themselves, which I find is fascinating. I think that's the narcissistic side where they can't help but want to. They're kind of proud of their work, so they do sort of want to tell on themselves, which I find psychologically interesting.
They're like a gumball machine. Like you give them a compliment about their big project or whatever, and then you leave something out or you make a little mistake on purpose, and they'll fucking correct you and confirm it all at once. I learned where people live. I learned all kinds of very interesting things because people are because narcissists are not smart, because they can't see past themselves. They can't understand somebody else's point of view. So I'm just going to keep pushing your fucking buttons. Keep telling me stuff. It's fine.
Well, I just need to give a shout out to Wes Clark Jr. because that dude is such a freaking bro. Like, literally, the night it was really heavily occurring, he had me laughing so hard, giving me the different scenarios of what these people were actually doing and how they didn't have $20 to put in the gas tank. And, it's just another freaking, gig. And then, I was just like, but why try to terrorize, a mom? And he's like, Heidi, they hate their mothers. I'm like, oh yes, I forgot about that part of it. He's like, come on, man. But just, he's a real one. Wes and his family are just absolutely lovely.
Wes is amazing, and they do. Many of them do hate their mothers. They genuinely do. Like, for example, Joe Flynn. Joe Flynn got really mad when I in a way stuck up for him and Mike because they were abused. They were an abusive family, and that triggered little Joey something fierce. That's for sure.
Yeah, I get it.
It didn't trigger him because it wasn't true.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. People aren't ready to deal with their shit till they're ready to deal with their shit, and it's classic bullying behavior. And I happen to know a lot about bullies because I happen to have a lot of reformed bullies that I'm friends with who've made their amends and try not to hurt anybody anymore. And those are the people that I like, the people who kind of realized what they were doing and why and stopped the behaviors. But yeah, so yes, hi-fi.
I just cannot fucking believe that the Flynn family would rather start World War III than go to fucking therapy.
That's our
Like,
promo clip.
talk about issues. Jesus.
That's our promo clip. That's our promo clip. I will say some have it worse than others, and
I mean,
Heidi Sigmund Freud has taken a kind of a glance at what could be one of the root
some Freud
problems.
needs to look at these fucking people. That's for sure.
So you guys, you see me moving around right now? You see what's happening? No freezy screen and
No, you
shit.
just froze.
You see
No,
that?
sorry.
Yeah, I know you just
Oh,
froze. you
damn it.
jinxed yourself.
Am I still
Jinx.
freezing though?
No, you're fine.
Actually,
No,
no,
you look
not right
great.
now. You're looking very clear, and you're moving, and yeah.
I have had
Sudden movements.
I have executive dysfunction, and Hi-Fi's explained that to me. And what that means is that if I need to call tech support, it might take me 8 weeks to call tech support. And so finally I called tech support, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, there's something wrong with your copper wiring or whatever." So allegedly they fixed it, and I'm supposed to call them back at 8 o'clock tonight and tell them if they fixed it or not. So that's why I was trying to move around.
It's pretty fixed. I mean,
Hey,
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
So can we talk about our interview with Dr. Ian Garner, because it was really incredible. By the way, Jim, Hi-Fi usually comes. I hope that you can. He's going to be my guest at the Betty Dangerous Speakeasy this weekend. Come try to meet him, because you're going to just be so stoked. And
he's amazing.
we should have a couple clips from him. So do we have something we can show?
I'm going to play one right now.
Russia is still very undefended. They're even more undefended than we are when it comes to cyber attacks and cyber influence. And if we're going to take misinformation and disinformation around this younger generation seriously, we have to go push back within Russia. We can do that. It is way cheaper than fighting a hot war, right? It costs trillions to fight wars, but it is very cheap to go and run influence operations. But here is the key. We do not have to lie, because we have the truth on our side. We have right on our side. What we need to do is go and reach out to Russians. And I know that many people listening to this will say, well, we've tried to do this before. And we have. And it was kind of working until we stopped doing it. And Putin really took control in a big way in the 2010s. But it is too risky to allow a younger generation to simply grow up with the sole influence of this patriarchal, incredibly destructive state. So we have to push back. In particular, we have to assist marginalized Russians. We have to assist queer Russians, and indeed the ethnic minorities who are not Russian but living within the space of the Russian Federation. And we have to show them, here is a way in which you can be Russian and queer. We have to show them Tchaikovsky. And
yes.
So Tchaikovsky is a great Russian. There's no way that you can say that he's not a great Russian, but he was also a homosexual.
He was gay. We just talked about that on our last show. Yeah. Oh, this is so incredibly moving. This is like a classical music in my ear. I just heard Mahler last night, so I'm all filled up with classical music.
We can say, the great Russians. We can go on. Gogol, the great writer, Ukrainian, right?
Yes.
I love Gogol.
In schools. Tolstoy. Yes. Well, when Russian kids read Tolstoy today, they read very much the war bit rather than the peace bit. But Tolstoy was a pacifist.
Right.
We have to talk about Tolstoy's pacifism. It doesn't mean destroying Russian culture. It means destroying the idea that Russian culture is inherently better than other ones, and that the only option is to be suspicious of and destructive towards other cultures.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, what are you saying about reaching out to not allowing all the Russian youth to go to the wolves is really important. And last night, Lawrence had Pussy Riot on, and almost single-handedly, trying to save a lot of the youth over there by presenting a model of defiance in the face of fucking terrifying oppression. And yeah, very important to distinguish the Russian people, who aren't any more violent or bigoted than anybody else, from the people that are psychologically tormenting them and turning them into, a more or less, Nazi Germany. One other thing I just want to say, like, the Nazi problem, the resurgence of the Nazis, Adam Waffen, all this shit, it comes from Russia. It literally comes from Russia. It comes from a website called Iron March, which was created by a Russian who went to Moscow spy school. Like, the Wagner are Nazis. That is Putin's fucking armed forces, or terrorists. Like, the Nazi problem is in Russia, and where it has spread to everywhere else, you can usually find it originating there, at least, in the last 20 years or so.
Yeah. Well, he went on to say exactly what you just said, that there isn't anything inherently wrong. It's the way that they've been radicalized. What is tragic to me is twofold. One is that they're using influencers that all the young kids want to be, and they're radicalizing them through social media. So they're getting, they're building their army through influencers who then parasitize the fascist narratives, and that's how they're grabbing hold of the kids. Unfortunately, it's being imported, as you know, Jim. It's being imported to the West through the telegrams, and we are doing absolutely nothing about it. And that is why he is saying we can actually, with the skill set we have here in America, provided it looks like it's coming from Russia and not the West, we actually can fight back with truth. We can reach in and get people with truth. We don't have to make stuff up. We don't have to create an unreality. And so,
well, the other thing is, like, telling the truth is actually pretty fucking crazy and interesting. Like, one thing that is so surprising about, the press and their just feckless lack of, being able to actually report on anything, is that if they would bother to fucking understand what's happening, or have the balls to talk about it, people are really interested. I know you're gonna get trolled or whatever if you fucking say something, real, but deal with it. That means you're doing the right thing.
yeah,
That's all that means.
yeah,
Like we've got to, get people in government and people in the press with some fucking backbone, and toughen up a little bit. Like, they're so terrified of going up against these people. They're like, Flynn's out there just absolutely psyoping the goddamn world, and we're doing jack shit about it.
right. So while I've been online, I don't think you can actually see it,
No.
but
No.
I'm I have my Substack is being hit continually with fake email addresses. This one's hatchet face. Before it's all like images of like drunk looking like drag queen type blondes. And we're on our own fighting this fucking war. Let's face it, the platforms aren't helping us. Our government's not helping us. We have built communities of people who are helping us. When it was really hard the other night, I was getting calls from all across the world saying, I got what you need. I got a safe house. I got whatever you need. People take this stuff seriously. But, we are on our own. And I don't know what we have to do to try to get our government to stand up and say that we are a target nation of cognitive warfare. Our minds are the battlefields, and we're going to get some resources to fight it. And what's happening to Heidi right now, well, she's live streaming her show. That's a show that fights disinformation. Is she's being attacked right now. And we're going to stop that from happening. No, that's not how it is. I got to call Jim, and Jim's got to be like, hey, you need to adjust this setting. And that'll help a little bit. And it did help a little bit, but it doesn't make it go away. So I would like our government to acknowledge the cyber war and put some of these bastards behind bars.
Well, there's a whole cyber, like the FBI they got a whole cyber harassment and criminal division. You can go and put your tip in about your cyber thing that happened to you. Guess what? Jack shit happens.
Mm-hmm.
Because the FBI has been emasculated because it's got a. I'm sorry, the FBI is not doing its motherfucking job, and the reason is because the director of the FBI is compromised as fuck. I'm going to say it right out loud. Director Wray needs to go. He was hired by Donald Trump.
Wow.
He's in the Federalist Society. He let 1-6 happen. Like, give me a fucking break with this guy. I want him out.
He went on Fox News during Fox's worst week to reputation wash Rupert Murdoch and Tucker Carlson. And I know he wasn't on Tucker's show, but the point was to reputation wash with the tsunami of exposure lies that are coming right now through the Dominion case, and spewing Kremlin propaganda simultaneously. So he exposed himself.
It wasn't. Yeah, it was.
Hold on, it's my turn. No,
God damn it, high five! I got a good one. Go ahead.
No, this one is mine.
Take notes, Jim. Take notes.
Because something that is of interest to me, and I have a lot of friends in this community, veterans of this country are starting to stand up and say, okay, you need to stop playing Fox News on military bases because that shit is obviously propaganda and obviously brainwashing. And I suggest to everyone, wherever they go, if Fox News is on, turn it to Cartoon Network.
Yeah, sure.
If the remote is out, just do it yourself. If not, ask nicely.
So when we had Jen Senko on, the brainwashing of my dad director, she said at least we should be able to get Fox off our military bases. At the very least, we should be able to start there. So I think that's very reasonable.
It's not gonna. I don't think that's gonna happen in the military until we start making some changes. Unfortunately,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, fucking Ray didn't just trust wash Fox News. He went on there and spread a fucking conspiracy theory about biolabs in China.
A Ray?
Like,
yeah.
I'm sorry, but the Wuhan lab leak is nonsense.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense.
Well,
so,
his fellow intelligence agents did not concur.
I don't. No, the theory makes no goddamn sense. The energy department, some low-level shithead, did a low confidence report at the energy department.
Yeah.
Who fucking cares?
Yeah.
The only people in the entire government who gave any sort of credence to the Wuhan lab leak was the FBI. The FBI has been chasing Chinese spies for fucking 5 years, ever since Chris Wray got in office. Mm-hmm. They've done nothing about the Russians.
No.
Nothing.
No. In fact, it looks like 2016, they may have been involved in some active measures. Certainly.
Not may have been. Charles McGonigal was in the most important counterintelligence position in the goddamn country.
I realize that.
I would just like to point out that right now in Canada, they are trying to accuse the left, like Trudeau's party and shit, of accepting money from Chinese cutouts. That is going on right now. And I think I've already proven that there is funny money flowing into Canada.
Oh yeah, Canada's hurting.
What the
yeah, well, it's big. It's a transnational mob, unreality show. So I did want to read you guys a quote from our financial correspondent, Martin Scheel, because before we went on air, I asked Marty what he thought about the maybe indictment for Trump, the maybe criminal charge for Trump. And he said he'll likely be indicted by the Manhattan DA in the next week or two. The likely indictment possesses at least 3 weaknesses that trouble him, which we will talk about later with the breaking news special with him. Also likely to be indicted in Georgia by their DA for racketeering charges, which he says is very exciting and also a little bit daunting because she may be biting off more than she can chew. We'll find out. He believes the special prosecutor will indict Trump in the next month or two for seditious conspiracy charges relative to January 6th and obstruction charges relative to the government docks in Mar-a-Lago. He said the case should be dynamic from a legal perspective, but explosive from a political perspective. Why that's important is I believe the acts of desperation that we are seeing right now are because this is coming, and they are once again engaged in massive criminal cover-ups. But here's the thing, gentlemen. I wrote something in recent days, and I just finished it today, that's going to run in Byline Supplement this weekend, I believe. I'm going to crush all these guys. They should be scared. Everything that they have done is in plain sight. And when you go back just a couple years and you string it all together, they're done. I really believe that they are going to be freaking done. And
I'm sorry. When I saw the breaking prosecutor signals.
Yeah, I know.
What I tweeted was
I'm not talking about
the prosecutor's been signaling that they're going to indict this motherfucker for 40 years.
Yeah,
I'm dead serious. For 40 fucking years, they've been signaling this bullshit. I do not care. When I see that orange fat fuck in handcuffs, then we can talk. But until then, just stop signaling shit. I don't care.
I'm not even talking. I'm not talking about
accountability out in here.
I'm not talking about some payoff.
I know you're not talking about that, Heidi. I'm just saying. I'm sick of it. I don't want to hear anymore. I want to see people in handcuffs.
What my goal is with what I recently wrote is that all the people who are because I'm hearing from a lot of people who are starting to wake from their Trump stupor and the stupor of the last few years. Once they read what I wrote, they're going to look around and see who's missing in their life, see who passed away because of the station they were watching. And I think they're going to become like ex-smokers. I do. I think it's going to be, I think we have a lot more.
There's nothing worse than an ex-smoker.
I think we have a lot more support in America than we believe.
It's no joke. Like when you, and I know you're not, but when you leave a cult, you are left with PTSD.
Yeah.
And there's a simple reason for that. The way you got in the cult was trauma.
Yeah.
When the way that cults work, the way that all of these people that act like this, Aunt Edna and whoever the fuck else, your sister, it could be anybody, is because they've been traumatized.
Yeah. By
this horrific propaganda. Okay. So when the propaganda recedes for a minute and they get a chance to breathe and they can look around and see, they're still left with that trauma. Not only are they left with it, but it surfaces now. It's now in their consciousness. They realize not only what they've been through, but what they put others through. The fact that they've been hurt and lied to for years and years and spent thousands of hours digging around in absolute nonsense.
Yeah. Because
a bunch of fucking theocratic fascists thought that would be to their political advantage and or would overturn democracy. So it's very, very important when that we have to have, and I am not a soft touch on this shit. Trust me.
I know you are.
But when people start to make a move in the right direction, welcome them. But don't fucking yell at them for all the other shit they did. Say, hey, that was great.
Yeah.
And then you can go back and tell them they're being a fucking idiot later when they do it again. But we have got to reintroduce the idea of positive things.
Yes.
The entire goddamn world is negative. I'm the guilty one about that because it's all fucking negative, and I just want to expose all of it at once.
Yeah, I know.
But the solution to it ultimately is people not behaving that way. I don't want to behave this way. I'd rather be writing about other shit and making video games and stuff. I don't want to do this.
I find
But
that
we gotta turn that corner as a
yes.
as a society.
The things that I write that deal with kindness and empathy, I get such a response from it because people are thirsting for things where they can feel kindness, empathetic, joy. And I believe kindness is a currency. And I think that we've said this many times on the show that this is also a war on kindness. It's a war on empathy. But if we all rediscover collectively our kindness and our empathy, it's a great weapon to destroy the smaller number of people who are committing all these harms against humanity. They may think they have the power at this moment, but there are so many more good people that we just need to activate. And honestly, Jim, you said it the other day in something you wrote that this stuff is designed to scare people. These cyber attacks and the imagery that comes with it is designed to make people recoil and back away because it's war and nobody wants to just walk into a war and say, hey, great. The difference is with what's happening in my world right now is because I've already had 7 years of this. And it turns out the people who are members of my community, they've been touched by it too. So I'm not the only one that's doubling down. The people who back people like us, they're doubling and tripling down too. So I don't think that we're made of weak stuff. I'm seeing some resiliency here that I did not see when it happened to me 5 years ago. There was no framework for it, and I was alone and ashamed. And instead, it's like I have a community that's global now that immediately checks in and says, what can I do and how can I help? And, also, I think it's important that you take, in my case, I think it's important that I take both, law enforcement and legal action because I don't want this to continue happening over and over again to other people by not doing so. So it's a different time, I think.
Yeah, it is a different time, and the thing about these characters out there that are doing this shit, it's a formula, and they haven't updated it. They haven't figured out anything new, and so they're just doing the same plays, but they're doing it on people who've had those plays run on them before.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna have to come up with something new, or shut up. Sorry.
Well, I don't think they can. They're probably buying
In-
their diapers or something,
In
like
troll speak,
I mean,
try
they're
harder,
low,
bro.
are low wage workers. They're as I've said before, we're job creators, Heidi.
I know that.
Yes.
Imagine what these poor asshats would do without us to chase around and try and figure out how to fuck up all day long. Imagine their poor.
They have to get jobs.
They have to do, or something.
They could start with I got a 12-step program for them because I recognize some of this stuff. So I recognize some of it.
They need a bunch more steps.
There's going to be a 12-step program for trolls one day. I'm sure of it. It's just, I'm sure of it. They got it first.
Step 1 through 12. Shut the fuck up.
Hey, so
hey.
So
nation states and trolls would rather try to sway public opinion globally than go to therapy.
Well, that's a good line. That's a great line. But I also think that what Dr. Ian Garner said is very true, too, that it's much cheaper to wage this kind of warfare than a hot war. And so I think that's part of why it is so common and so prolific. The lack of will in America to help fight it is something that I am going to continue to harp on, because it seems to me that we saw what happened to what should have been Hillary Clinton, the president of America. I mean, there's a verb for it. She got Hillaried. She was virtually assassinated with a Kremlin operation and domestic, hangers on as well. And so the fact that it's just being repeated, as Jim was saying, without any software updates should mean that there's probably a way to diffuse it. But there needs to be the will to do that. And I do think.
Well, one thing they're doing is this reverse history bullshit with the Twitter files. So whenever Taibbi comes up with some new Kremlin bullshit about Twitter, I respond by just bang, 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 showing how he's absolutely reversing everything about Twitter. Twitter is the reason Hillary Clinton was not president, because Twitter is where Guccifer, WikiLeaks, MAGA 3X, microchip, fucking all of that shit that went on to Douglas Mackey and all those motherfuckers, the Nazis that ran around Twitter to tear down Hillary Clinton. That was the operation. That was Flynn's psyop to tear down Hillary Clinton, and it was primarily focused on Twitter. Mm-hmm. So the idea that somehow, Twitter is some, blue and on shitlib factory where there's a bunch of people sitting around thinking about, there's Russian people. No, absolutely not. The opposite was true. There were roving bands of right-wing terrorists on Twitter for years and years. The whole resistance movement that happened in 2017 as a result of a goddamn Russian puppet becoming president and a whole bunch of liberals becoming scared, that got infiltrated by a shitload of Russian shitheads and trolls and chaos agents and got absolutely destroyed on Twitter. And immediately what happened after that? QAnon started. Yeah. For 4 fucking years, QAnon was free reign. You could be as QAnon as you want. You could we have Praying Medic out there making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month from QAnon people. Mike Flynn filled his fucking defense fund, which is the reason why he got out of his conviction, from Twitter. Yeah. That's how all this shit happened. So Matt Taibbi can go fuck himself with his reverse mirror world nonsense Kremlin dumb shittery, because what actually happened is Twitter was where this whole thing was headquartered, where this insurgency was born, where it was bred, where it was grown, and where it's even worse now because you've got a fucking Nazi in charge of it.
Yeah. Well, it's been one of the fronts.
The world is killing me with the Twitter files, Matt. Do better, dude. You suck at it. It's really terrible and it's stupid and nobody believes you. Sorry.
I think more people should be aware of his early work when he was in Russia. What did he write about?
Matt Taibbi wrote in his own book about coercing underage girls into sex acts. Yeah. While he was writing an anti-American tabloid in Moscow. So I wonder why the Kremlin has such a hold on him. It's a mystery.
I will say that.
Did you imagine the fucking tapes Putin has about Matt? Come on, man.
I'd rather not.
I wonder.
I'd rather not.
Can I just say that there once was a time when writers could make barely, but they could eke out a living doing freelance work, as I did for many years. And then along came Huffington Post and Fiverr, and it just killed the freelance reporter. There was no place. If Hunter S. Thompson were around right now, there'd be there's no place. They don't exist anymore. So like Jim, I had to create my own universe on Substack, and it's amazing. But I look at many of these so-called writers, and clearly they've just tried to figure out a way to get paid at a time when writers barely get paid anymore. And unfortunately, it looks pretty pretty grim on the choices. But can I just say, I'm going to go see The Cure in a couple months, so I don't give a fuck. I am still a writer.
You
I,
might
I,
like.
oh,
I'm
I'd
not
love.
sure.
I know we've had this before, but no, I wore like a Robert Smith shirt all during the holidays because I just needed to feel close to that music. And what's so cool is I'm going to go see The Cure, and I'm on assignment. And for an
I'm,
old school journo, that just feels really good. Like it feels really really good. I feel like an old boxer still in the ring, and I'm stoked to be here, and I'm stoked to have a community that supports what we do. That's some gratitude right there. Yes.
I need
High five.
I need to go back to Taibbi for a second because I grabbed this earlier today and I really want to show it. So here it is.
Oh no.
Society of Professional Journalists Code of Ethics asserts that journalists should avoid political activities that can compromise integrity or credibility. Being a Republican witness today certainly casts a cloud over your objectivity. But a deeper concern that I have relates to the ethics of how journalists receive and present certain information. Journalists should avoid accepting spoon-fed, cherry-picked information if it's likely to be slanted, incomplete, or designed to reach a foregone, easily disputed, or invalid conclusion. Would you agree with that?
I think it depends.
Really? You wouldn't agree that a journalist should avoid spoon-fed, cherry-picked information if it's likely to be slanted, incomplete, or designed to reach a foregone, easily disputed, or invalid conclusion?
Congresswoman, I've done probably a dozen stories involving whistleblowers. Every reported story that I've ever done across 3 decades involves sources who have motives. Every time you do a story, you're making a balancing test.
Okay.
Between the public
reclaiming
interest.
my time. Thank you very much. I ask you this because before you became Elon Musk's hand-picked journalist, and pardon the oxymoron, you stated this on Joe Rogan's podcast about being spoon-fed information, and I quote,
Some
I think that's true
shade.
of any kind of journalism, and you'll see it behind me here. I think that's true of
Yes.
any kind of journalism. Once you start getting handed things, then you've lost. They have you at that point, and you got to get out of that habit. You just can't cross that line. Do you still believe what you told Mr. Rogan? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes.
Good. Now, you crossed that line with the Twitter files.
No.
Elon Musk, it's my time. Please do not interrupt me. Elon Musk spoon-fed you his cherry-picked information, which you must have suspected promotes a slanted viewpoint, or at the very least generates another right-wing conspiracy theory. You violated your own standard, and you appear to have benefited from it.
I was Katie Porter quality, man. That was fucking great.
That was quality. That was
All she needed was a little whiteboard. Like, here's you, Kremlin dipshit, and here's what you said you were gonna do over here, dipshit. It was genius.
And here's what you did, which is
Debbie reminds me, by the way, like I don't know if you guys remember the DNC, but the Kremlin hacked the fucking emails of the DNC, and Debbie got ratted out of the Democratic chair and all this stuff because guess what? Because the goddamn Kremlin hacked the DNC and they gave it to Lucifer, who then gave it to WikiLeaks, who published it on Twitter.
This is why they're so big mad at you, Jim, because you see it all. Between the two of yous, you got the network guy on that side of me, and you got the high concept guy on that side of me, and you guys map it all out, and you're able to see it so clearly. And then our media does everything they can to pretend it's not happening, which I wrote about yesterday.
well, here's my problem. We need to highlight the billionaires that are doing this.
Mm-hmm. Many of the members of the media work for those billionaires, so that's not really a plan. We just got to keep on building our community and stay very loud and very focused. And I think part of what is the intent of the harassment campaigns is to take away your time from the work at hand. So I think it's very important that that everybody who is enduring this kind of stuff stay focused on doing the work that makes them the targets to begin with, because that is, if you weren't doing good work, as we learned from Imran Ahmed so many months and years ago from the Center for Countering Digital Hate, it wouldn't occur. So, but I do want to see if we have another clip from Dr. Ian Garner, because I think it's really important that our audience watches episode 63 of RadPod. Members of my community, please come on Sunday to meet him. He's amazing, and support his book, and high five. You got some big thoughts. Yeah, it'd be great.
I'm going to address it after we watch this clip. So watch this clip and then let me speak.
Russia is still very undefended. They're even more undefended than we are when it comes to cyber attacks and cyber influence. And if we're going to take misinformation and disinformation,
we've seen this one, high five,
seriously.
Whoops.
Russia is still very undefended.
I uploaded the same clip twice.
Oh, then do you want to watch it again, or do you want to grab the clip? Can you fiddle around and take a minute and grab the second one I sent? The second one I sent is a little shorter. Why don't you just grab it?
It looks like you're asking way too much of him in the next 3 minutes, Heidi. I'm afraid to tell you.
That's way too much, and that's way too much.
Look at his eyes. It's not going to happen.
Actually,
what?
If you go to RadPod's Twitter, they're all right there.
There you go. Go to RadPod's Twitter. It's all right there.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you go to RadPod's Twitter. No, who's on first?
That is way too much work for 2 minutes.
Oh no, I don't mind if we go.
Heidi,
plus, I have to address something.
His energy level is inversely proportional to the squinting of his eyeballs.
I'm the sober girl in this community, and I forgot that there is some highness occurring. Okay.
My productivity waxes and wanes. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, okay.
You're pretty waxed, bro.
TMI.
Did you have something to say?
Yes, I do have something to say. Actually, on the subject of the network and the people behind all of this, and the fact that we've repeatedly pointed out that it's billionaires who are doing this, and I think Joe Biden actually gets it, because he's like, it's time to jack up the capital gains tax. And somebody in the chat mentioned Bernie Sanders. And I noticed that Bernie Sanders has been suspiciously quiet on Joe Biden's tax increase for billionaires. So if he's really is who he says he is, and a progressive and on the side of labor in the class war, then maybe he needs to address that. So anyway.
Or he could just go away. I don't know.
That would be nice too. Yeah, because as everyone needs to remember, Bernie's campaign manager used to work with Manafort, so
yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with Bernie. I like Bernie. He said good things, but he allowed his campaign and the people around him to be weaponized.
Yes.
And and he, he's been anti-Democrat for a long time. Let's be perfectly honest. And we don't need division right now.
No, we don't. No, that's the way the fascists win, is they march in lockstep together, and the Democrats, it's like herding fucking cats.
Yeah. Well, that's part of what makes it good, right? Is that we're a bunch of cats and we have fun and we frolic and shit. We do our fun cat things. But they don't have that. So, the problem is you can't give up the cat behavior if you're going to stay cats. You know what I'm saying?
I am going to be right now texting hi-fi a
cat pictures.
No, it's much better than that. There's a tweet that President Jackie Singh tweeted out in my defense, And like, I love this woman, you know what I'm saying? Like, I love her. She's awesome. Like, she's really incredibly special. But she tweeted out something in my defense that just like, I can't believe it, but it made me so happy. Hi-Fi, you want to show it, or do you think it's too inappropriate for prime time?
Jackie has no fucks at all.
Jackie has no fucks. She has no fucks.
Oh no, I'm totally gonna share that. Hold
I
on,
think
let
that
me
this
bring
needs to
that
be
up.
this needs to be the final word. She was defending me against Joe Flynn's misogyny, which led to death threats directed at me. And so Jackie kind of, I don't know, she sort of pulled a hi-fi or something, but she
Hold on.
might have invented this shit. You know what I'm saying?
She was there at the beginning for some of it. Yeah. But I would just like to point out that, you know, what we've discussed on the program, what you've discussed is being the bigger and tougher force, being the bigger troll, and taking it, not only taking it, but turning it around.
That's what you do. What I do is
No. That's what you were discussing earlier in the show.
I'm a kindness
I'm going to
girl.
play
I'm
it
an
back
empathy
later.
girl. I'm a
I'm
kindness
going to
girl.
play
I'm
it
an
back later and
empathy
send
girl.
you clips.
All right.
But
Let's give President Jackie
also
Singh the
trolling.
final word. Final word.
The final troll.
Final troll. By the way, one extra hearty fuck you for threatening a journalist. You and your ilk can eat my entire arsehole.